I look forward to talking a little bit about some baseball and coaching.
Oh yeah, Dave. I every time we talk, I feel like I learned something, and so I know that our listeners better get their pens and papers ready to be able to do that, or your Evernote files or note files, whatever you are taking on notes on devices these days. But last time we talked, you were a coordinator with the Pirates, and now you're currently the national team head coach at IMG Academy. And man, like talking off the mic, you love your job, and you are so excited to go to work every single day. I feel like you're making an absolute impact. So just tell us a little bit about that and that transition and what you're doing on a daily basis.
So in 20, obviously, was scheduled to go to manage in Altoona, our AA club, or the AA club of the Pirates. And with COVID, the season never went off. So, as most people know, at the end of 19, there was a regime change, leadership change from top to bottom. And they kind of continued to bring in their own folks. And at the end of 20, parted ways with the Pirates. Didn't know where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. It was such it's bizarre time. First time I've experienced that. And I had considered profession change. I had considered a lot of different changes. The opportunity come up to coach baseball at IMG Academy came up, and I was considering also an opportunity to get back into pro ball, and I chose to stay home and coach, at IMG Academy. So I removed myself from the chaos of professional baseball and decided to come home and stay home and coach and impact here at IMG. And to be honest, it was a great decision. I've experienced a reconnection to the game. It's been a mini revival, and it's for me just to be able to coach in such a pure environment, and with kids and having the ability to really impact them on a daily basis, more so than even upper level big leaguers, AAA, AA guys, because these kids are much more malleable at this point in their lives and vulnerable. A lot of these kids are away from home, and they don't even have their folks as their anchor here. So your job is a big responsibility.
And so, I guess so there's sometimes that I have a hard time understanding the vastness that is IMG Academy. And you said you guys had 6 varsity teams, which just I that doesn't even register on my how do you guys coordinate all of that? So that, I guess that's my question of what does that look like on a daily basis? Do you have your group and then you guys go to field 1 and you've got them all for this, or is there a top down thing of we're splitting all it, but this is kind of the agenda for the day? Just walk us through that.
We have 204 players in our program. And so essentially you're looking at the size of a professional organization, right around there. It's a similar size, a lot less coaches. So more responsibilities go to each coach in terms of handling workload and stuff. But I will tell you that coordinating that on a daily basis, it's not hard for me because John Russell, our field coordinator, is responsible for organizing, the fields and the blocks of time. And basically, the difference between there and pro ball is that you get to do it all. Number one, every coach is under one roof in one building year round, and the players are right there on campus. So you don't have to travel. However, you do have to be super organized, the responsibility is huge for John Russell and Dan Simon's our baseball director, obviously, but JR really shoulders the load for that. And that is a Rubik's Cube, daily, because, we have 6 fields, 2 half fields. We have JV programs. We got postgraduate programs. The fields are being occupied all morning and then all afternoon daily, and as well as the cages. So it's a lot. There's a lot of activity. on a daily basis. And honestly, we're grateful for JR. And so all I have to do is, click on schedule, and see what my blocks of time are, and then create the magic and the blocks of time. But he handles and shoulders all of that, man.
Oh, that's awesome. I love hearing that. And man, they're very blessed to have such great coaches and such a great, setup and things like that. And so I want to know, so, you're working with some of the, I guess, greatest athletes, regardless of age, at IMG and in pro ball. So what translates? So, you hear this phrase that comes up, well, they're not in pro ball, or they're not, 25 years old, 27 years old. And I get that. A lot of strength and maturity happens between those ages. But what would you say would be some different things that just transcends whatever age group that they're with? So what have you been able to take from pro ball and be able to translate to the teenagers that you're working with today?
The process of player development and how I was brought into it, is very holistic. And, I've always believed in, connecting with the man first and growing up, the man, and in order to find the player. And I have changed nothing in that idea, or I guess you could talk about a theory. The one thing I know, and everything evolves, Jonathan, you're a learner, you're working all the time and developing your thoughts and ideas. Things evolve. But the one thing, that I always go back to, is that the player resides in the man. And as we try to help these kids go from, boy to man, and that's the hardest process, in my opinion, changing thoughts and behaviors in order to grow them up. Because, once you get them, if you can help mature them and understand some things, either about themselves or, life, a lot of the baseball and the training and the X's and O's falls into place because now they're ready for it, and they can be more present for it. They can understand it. They're in a different spot. So I've, again, that has never become more evident than now, going back from, 19. My last team was Arizona Fall League in Peoria, all AAA big leaguers, AA guys. And I believe in the same exact stuff. They're just at a different dot in their careers and processes than these cats are. And, but now everything is, very fluid, maturity, bodies growing, there's a lot more going on here. And I'm really even more convicted in the thought of, I can really help them grow up and try to show them what right looks like daily. Because they're not set in their ways. And then some of them who are away from home aren't anchored down by their family. And that's the one thing I know and I'm more convicted in.
No doubt. So with that, you talk about, you hear coaches talk about building the culture. And so you guys have a really interesting dynamic because you're trying to make them some of the best players in the world. And with that, I'm sure there is an already established culture there of excellence, and that's why they're there. But I guess I'm curious on, if I was ever to take over a high school job, it would be much different than the one that you guys are doing, with the expectation of, hey, we're getting you guys ready for a professional whatever, whether it's tennis or basketball or football or baseball in your case. And so I guess what, that's just an interesting dynamic. And so is culture talked about, or is it more of like personal excellence on a daily basis?
So for me, the idea, so once I get my club, my group, and even whatever, regardless, like this fall, I have 3 different work groups that I'm kind of jumping from group to group during the 6-day process of instruction. I'm always very clear on expectation, and what this workday is going to look like, sound like, and be like, and why we're doing it, and all of that. And so, with that, it's your backdoor creating a mini culture as they walk into your field every day and your dugout every day. They know the expectation. They know what we're doing. They know why we're doing it. And they know what it's going to look like. And I think essentially, that is culture. And as I get my group in January, when I have my group, then you can really, drill down and dig down deep on talking about standards and what do you guys want to be? Let's talk about this. And then really kind of collaborate on what they want to be. And then, I'll fill in the cracks, but they have part ownership of what this culture is going to look like and feel like on a daily basis. And it's my opportunity to include them, put my stuff in too, if they haven't. And so we're sharing in that. And then the ability to go out and do it, because it's the action, it's the activity, it's the do of it that really makes it whatever it is.
No doubt. So with that, having all of the different experiences that you've had and playing in all the different parts of the world, now back to amateur baseball, what wisdom have you taken from being in those places and imparted with these guys? So, I feel like we're always, and this may just be a personal thing for me, but I'm always like, man, I wish they had known this, or I wish that they could do this before they got to me so that we could go to the next step rather than reteaching it. And so I guess I'm curious as to what are you imparting with them, besides their daily excellence, besides the standards of performance and things like that. But what are just some different ideas that you have, or some different conversations that you have with players that are saying, hey guys, like I've coached at the highest level and I've seen these guys and we need to start doing X, Y, and Z. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think one thing that my experience has given me is to see, we're at whatever level you're at, how hard the game is never easy. And if it is easy at a level, it's just a matter of time before you get to a level where this thing becomes, really stinking hard. And I've seen guys at the highest levels struggle. And it's not unlike guys at this level struggling. And many times it becomes about the mind and versus, the swing or the delivery. And it's more about the approach and how you're viewing things. So empathy for the player is a big deal, because when you pull guys aside, they can feel you. They know you got their back. And you're not this transactional coach that says, hey, when you're going bad, don't look at me. When you're going good, hey, how you doing? And, so I think the empathy piece is big. I played in other countries. We have players from all over the world here. I'm coaching kids from Korea, Japan,
I love
Mexico, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, having played there, and I've coached a ton of different countries' kids. I tell you that playing overseas is not that easy. You have a ton of adjustments, style of play, culture, language, food, everything is an adjustment. So since I started managing and coaching, the one thing I've always had is a heart for those international players, and the ability to connect and somehow, whether it's, hello, how you doing in their language, taking the time to find out about their story. I remember how big that was for me when I was overseas and someone took the time. It made me feel cared for, and it made me feel like I was a part of something, not just the player on a team. And I've always felt that experience has really helped me with those things, and that's probably the biggest thing I took away from all the travel.
Sure. No, I love that. And yeah, I think that the people that have the most closed-mindedness is, I know that I did whenever I had that lack of travel and experiences around the world. and just, seeing different cultures in different parts of the world. It's like, wow, like how can I be so narrow-minded sometimes, right? We get into our little bubbles and we're just like, wow. And we get around this people who think and do the same things that we do. And we fall into those patterns. And I love hearing that. And so at IMG, you guys are trying to build complete student athletes. And so their schedule is, I'm sure it's a lot different than, what we have at
it sure is,
or any high school. So tell us a little bit about that, and then we can dig more into that. I'd love to hear.
You'd be amazed. Obviously, these guys have a ton of resources available to them to help them, right? In every facet, from strength conditioning, on field, and then the individual attention they get on field within the context of team, and then, nutrition, mental skills, and then they have a full academic load. And within that, they have a ton of support there also, tutors, academic advisors. And, the schedule is set up too, where this is like a walking college campus, and many of their schedules are kind of like a college where you have some classes 2 days a week, other classes 3 days a week, to kind of this block thing. So they have to manage their time, and just as like a college student would. And I'll tell you that I think, that we probably put as much on their plate, if not more, than some colleges, because, they have to kind of tap into all these areas. So, for example, I might have a team practice on Wednesday, right? So they go to class and they'll get out at like 11:45 or whatever. Their classes go through the morning. They go run and grab a lunch, and then they have, their first thing might be on Wednesday. They have lift at 1:30, right? So that's an hour. They'll get out to me at 2:45 for a team practice, right? I get my hands on them for about 2 hours. And, we roll into and do our practice, but I got to get them out, towards the end, because they might have a mental skills thing. So I'm bookended by, 2 things that they've got going on that day, so they'll run over to mental skills or nutrition or whatever that is that day, finish up with that, go grab their dinner, and then they got to start crushing their homework. Or preparing for tests and all that kind of thing, so their days are really full, man. And now I will tell you that obviously that's really good. Downtime and, a young kid with a lot of downtime is not good. And so, but, their days are really full, and I know there's a reason for that, obviously, is, one, you're trying to help these cats, but 2, they need to be full, and but they are, and I have to be cognizant of all of the other things they have going on in their lives when I plan practice too. I just can't, crush them either at practice. I have to consider all the other stuff they have going on and work around that.
No doubt. Well, it's cool like that. I mean, that sounds like a college and pro experience, and that's why they're there. And I think that that's a really neat look into that side of things. But let's talk about the training side. So, what does training look like there? And you just kind of walk us through, what you guys are doing this time of year. What does the off-season calendar look like? And I know that their days are full, so you're not playing baseball with them 24 hours a day. And so just kind of walk us through what you guys are doing this time of year, and we'll get up to preseason.
So that is, we're just winding down our fall instructional program.
Okay.
And, basically that consisted of, you've got some hitting groups, you've got some defensive groups, and you have a team that you're training. And, we're really trying to get to know players personally, and then, technically, so we can figure out over like a 10, 12 week period, how we can help them to perform better and move on to the next thing. So it's been awesome. It's been a very intensive thing for players and coaches, because there's a vast majority of these guys that, even the committed guys, but uncommitted guys to college, that still want to go out and play on weekends to get exposure. And so those guys have a ton of baseball on their plate. And, so we also, while we're here, I mean, we have games usually Thursday, Fridays, or Fridays and Saturdays, amongst our teams that, we had an individual draft. Each, head coach had drafts, and we picked our players, and you got to compete with that team that you drafted. And you're responsible to help get them each better. But this has been like talk about a Rubik's Cube. If we didn't have John Russell, figuring this stuff out for us too, or helping us, it would be virtually impossible. And, like I said, JR, former major league manager, Buck Showalter's bench coach for about 8 years. He's in the fight with us every day and in the trenches with us every day. And again, it's just another example of some of the great baseball minds and men we have over here. But sure, this fall has been really cool. I will tell you that there's a reason for off seasons. Some of these cats have been going at it really hard for 9-10 months. So we're in the process of now deloading after, we finished up our games this week, giving them the weekend off, and we're in the process of deloading so they can focus on their academics and focus on their bodies and focus on some mental skills stuff, but to a large degree, putting some of the guys' bats and balls down to focus on some other things to regenerate their minds and bodies. There's a reason for off seasons. You need it. You want to avoid the burnout because, as good as it is to commit to an area of training, you really have to be aware of the mind and the attrition of just a long season,
Sure. No doubt. Well, I got 2 comments on that. One, I'm not surprised that John Russell is amazing at his job. I mean, you do know where he grew up, right? What state he grew up in?
Oklahoma.
Absolutely. See,
oh yeah.
I don't know why you're surprised.
Absolutely. He reminds me every day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There you go. I love it. We'll tell him a former Okie or a current Okie says hello.
I will do that. You need to get him on the show.
Yeah, there it is. Let's do that. But second thing I wanted to ask is, so you've got this fall Instructs period, and is it just like basic fundamentals? I mean, is that what you guys are going over with together, and then playing on the latter half of the week?
Yeah, we focus on. There's a team concept of the fundamentals, and then the individual components of fundamentals, situational hitting, position play. And all of that, and then bring it together, take the test by playing the game and see where they're at, and then back to work on Monday of prepare, execute, review. Where are we at? Where do you think we need to be individually, collectively? It is such a fast pace. There's so much going on. This has been. I'm telling you, and I was telling some guys, I said, look, I've been charged with scheduling spring training, helping to run spring training. There's more moving parts here, man, because there's also out of the 204 or 5 players or whatever we have here, the disparity from the top guy to the bottom guy is also, it's incredible. It's incredibly great. And so that requires, time and attention, because you can't do the same stuff with the kids, at the lower level that you're doing at the top level. And so so again, JR, he shoulders a lot of it, and, scheduling everything around lifts, school, APD, skill stuff, nutrition stuff, and travel ball. I don't know how he does it, but he does it. But, this has been an awesome fall of learning for myself too, and the pace of it all. Because of all this, the pace is awesome. I like pace. Pace agrees with me, and the time just flies. And at the end of the day, you're gassed, and it flew by. So I love that.
No doubt, I love that too. And And so we get to, your certain point to this time in the fall, I guess. And then what does this transition to more of the weight room and mental conditioning, and then you're taking a step back for a couple weeks on the baseball side, and then you're going to get ready for preseason pretty soon?
Yeah, I think so. What you have, like I said, we're going to be deloading most of the guys with bat and ball stuff, mound stuff, where, they concentrate on the body, on the mind stuff, on academics. Even some of them, getting home to reconnect with families. It's a regen time. Now, there are guys that are coming back from either surgeries or injuries or illness, from the fall, where their periodization of their 12-month cycle will be a little different than the others, where, a guy that missed, he missed the entire fall because he had a hamstring injury, then got mono. What do we want to do with him? Well, why don't we do a slow ramp up with some skill work and get his body back where it needs to be. So he'll be on a little different program than maybe the rest of the guys. Or we have a cat that, coming back from a surgery, who is completely healthy and has now been cleared to, do all baseball activities. So how do we bring him along and that other guy along to get them ready for the second week in January, which is when we probably crank it up, as our spring training, you call it, right? And so there's a fair amount of those cats that we have to take care of and set up their calendars to get them to where they'll be ready to ramp up with the rest of the crew come January.
Oh, I love that. So tell us a little bit about when that happens. So do they go home for the break and then they come back and you guys give them a plan to try and get ready? Because Florida, you could do baseball stuff year round, but most of those kids aren't necessarily going to stay there. So just tell us about what that's like. Yeah,
so there's a lot of boarders, kids that live in other states and countries that will go home, and they will be, we have online stuff for them, so our strength coach can, email, do Zoom calls with groups and all that kind of stuff. See, hey, how you guys doing? Get his eyes on them, and he can give them a program to go execute. So how they do that, obviously it will be shouldered by them and wherever they have the ability to train. Pitchers will be given a program of arm care, arm health, so that when they come back, they're ready to step up on the bump and start some side pens and things like that to get that rolling. Position players, they'll be given the same, if we can get our throwing in and ground ball work, fly ball work in 2 days a week, keep our bodies moving. This is what's going to be required of you. The game demands it. And when you get back in January, the ramp up will be a lot more seamless. And though obviously when you get guys coming back from breaks, significant breaks, you always have some that are going to be ahead of others. Some did a better job. You have it in pro ball, some guys really show up and other guys maybe shirked, some of those responsibilities, and they show up not as ready. And you got to be aware of that, because, if you ramp up everyone on the same page, man, some guys can break down quickly and flare up and all that. So that's always been a challenge, and it will continue to be, because everyone's different.
Thank you for listening to Ahead of the Curve. If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving us a rating or review wherever you are listening. I also wanted to remind you that you can find the video portion at the AOTC channel on stickandball.tv. Have a great week.